Andrew, do you know who Chase Young is?
Yeah, of course.
No. My point is, I don't either.
Before I said that Cade Cunningham would never be an All-Star, and I just wanted to double down on that.
Oh,
I just
We're back
What's going
with
on with
another.
Mike's video?
I know.
A Super Bowl recap. Man, this one's gonna hurt. All that next here on Jam Pack. What up, Jam Pack? What's going on, boys?
What's going on?
What's happening? What's happening?
Okay.
We're going to excuse Mike for the evening. He's out on a, we're gonna call it a work trip. I'm just kidding. Yeah, he's definitely on a work trip. Midnight where he's at, so we're gonna excuse him out for today. Welcome back, Jam Squad. My name is Mike. I am your host. I'm here with John and Andrew today. We're going to be talking about the NFL Super Bowl. Might be a little tearful today.
We're gonna hold it in. We're gonna hold in the tears.
For those that don't know, let's see. Yesterday was NFL Super Bowl. Kansas City Chiefs 125-22 over the 49ers. This was tough. I'll give you a few stats right off the bat. Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes threw for 333, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Travis Kelce added 93 yards of receiving. They did a good job of keeping him out of the end zone, but he still had that 93 yards. And then for San Francisco, Brock Purdy threw for 255 and a touchdown, and then McCaffrey was the beast, man. 80 yards on the ground, 80 yards through the air, and a touchdown.
It would have been his MVP.
Oh, definitely would have been his MVP. That dude carried the entire team.
Yep.
Literally. We'll actually talk about that stat later. The Super Bowl was set a record. I remember I had texted you guys. I'm like, I would go on a limb and say that Super Bowl would have broke the records, being that Taylor Swift was in the show, and sure enough, it did. It set a record of 123.4 million viewers.
Man, look at that.
I think it broadcasted on CBS, Paramount Plus, streamed on Paramount Plus, and Nickelodeon. I think there was one more. I think the NFL networks, wherever their platforms are.
I got my
on there
free
as well.
I got my free Paramount Plus trial just to watch that thing. So
Hey,
7 days.
this is your reminder to
I gotta
cancel.
remember to cancel in 2 days before I gotta pay for it. So.
No, you just got to cancel now. You cancel now, it'll still give you your free days.
Oh, will it? Okay, I'm canceling.
It should.
As soon as we get off this.
It should. I won't tell you how I know that, but it should.
Just on a side note, have any of you ever seen any of the games the way that Nickelodeon presents it?
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny.
It's really interesting. I think it's kind of cool for kids. I thought it was neat.
Maybe that's more my speed. I should start watching on Nickelodeon from now on.
It's pretty funny, dude.
Will it break some stuff down for me, or?
Yeah.
No.
Not so much plays, but they add animation to the whole thing. Oh, this guy's getting slimed. Oh, they scored touchdown. The end zone's full of ooze, like stuff like that. I think it's funny. Nate Burleson's over there broadcasting for him. I think there's a niche there for us to do our own broadcasting. And be able to explain the game a little bit better to guys that don't necessarily know the game much. Well, let's break this down into 2 different halves. Okay, John, I want you to tell me how you felt after the first half. Like, what did you see in the first half that you liked, and tell me how you felt.
So the half ended at a score of 10-3. I think the 49ers came out doing what I hoped that they did the last Super Bowl, and that was stick to a run play, uh, kind of first offense. Defense is real solid, real stout. Um, I think Brock Purdy did what we wanted him to do, was to just manage the game, right? Since everyone calls him a game manager, he did well doing what we wanted him to do. So manage the game well. Passes for the most part were pretty crisp. Um, uh, I felt that the team kind of played as a whole unit, and I felt like communication seemed to be good across the board, for both offense and defense. I saw a lot of people talking to each other, just kind of off ball script. It seemed like it was really good there. So um, I did think the first half was complete in terms of what the 49ers do. I didn't think that they were going to come out scoring a million points. I think Shanahan likes to just run the ball, control the clock, and defense needs to step up. So from that standpoint, first half, um, I felt like I saw what I would expect to see.
Drew, how'd you feel in that first half?
I thought my prediction was going to be right, man. I think I said it was going to be like a 13-10 game. I'm like,
I have it
here
written
we go.
down. Hold on. I have it written down. You said it
Somewhere,
was gonna
right?
Yeah, you said it was going to be 14-10 Niners.
Man,
Yeah, I was close. And until I wasn't, and you guys were actually spot on at the end after OT and everything. I think John's at like 24-20 or something like that.
Yep.
So in the first half, it just seemed like 49ers were doing everything right to me. I mean, I know they didn't score a ton of points, but the Chiefs were just ineffective. They didn't do anything. They couldn't do anything. That defense was doing exactly what they were supposed to do. But when I saw that it was 10-3, I was nervous for the 49ers. So I was like, it's Patrick Mahomes, and he's been here already, and he's not scared of 10-3 at all. And it's one touchdown. That's all. So it's like way too close for comfort,
sure.
as we saw. And yeah, so that's kind of how I felt at the end of the first half. I was just like, uh-oh. I was hoping, considering how well I felt like the defense was playing, I was kind of hoping the 49ers could get a little more distance. And I think John kept texting that too, like, oh, still close, still got to go. I think the reality, that it was too close. So, and to be fair, the Chiefs were playing great defense too. So,
Sure.
So in that first half, I had a little bit of hope. Like I said, oh man, they're running the ball really well. They're getting 5, 6, 7 yards per carry. Like they're in that first half, 49ers dominated the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, hands down. Move that offensive line, or that offensive line got push, that defensive line got pressure without sending any blitzes. Like it was completely dominant on the line of scrimmage on both ends.
Bosa, man. For a second there, I thought he was going to be the MVP of the game. But anyways,
no way. There's no way. There's no way. Chase Young would have got it before him.
I agree. I mean, Chase Young came out real strong getting that sack.
It's the lane rush discipline.
I almost made my $3,000 right there, man. Anyways.
That was that lane rush discipline that I've talked about. I'm like, you can't go super route wide. You can't get that far behind the quarterback. I used to teach my guys, if you're going to rush the quarterback, get even with the quarterback and then fight back, right? Make him step up into the pocket and then fight back. You can't keep going, because you keep going, you keep rounding that corner and you leave that lane too wide open. There's no way an interior D lineman can catch a skill player on the run when he has that wide of a lane. There's no way. But in that first half, man, I mean, dominant on both ends. What did worry me though was the lack of production in scoring. right?
Yeah.
You were able to drive the ball, missed a couple opportunities, which I mean it happens, right? In any game, you miss some opportunities, miss some shot plays. One that was wide open to Ayuk. There was another one. I think Brandon Jennings was open, but I think that was later in the game. But there were some shots that that San Fran took that I was like, okay, good, cool. Like this is the area of the field that you want to take shots anyways.
Yeah.
Like let's go, let's do this. And I mean, right call for sure, but just slightly slight miscommunication on between Purdy and Ayuk on that seam route. But and then I don't know what transpired in the during halftime. I don't know if like half of them went out to go watch Usher and their concert, but for whatever reason they decided we're gonna get away from that. We're gonna get away from running the ball. In that second half, in the first three, I want to say it was 3 possessions that San Francisco had. They ran the ball once.
One time in 3
One
possessions.
time in the 3 possessions, which is wild. Absolutely wild. Because not only are you not moving the ball, right? You're not giving your defense rest. You're not running the clock, right? Because it's incomplete pass. Okay, well, we got to go again. Screen pass, 2 yards, clock's running, but still, we still need a chunk play. And I when you look at Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator for Kansas City, when you look at his at the way that he coaches, he waits for you to get behind the chains.
Yep.
And so it kind of shot you guys you guys shot yourselves in the foot in not running that ball in that coming right out of the half, and letting them get a little bit of momentum to tie the game towards that end there. Bit of controversy at the very end, right? The game went into overtime. Not many people know this, but the overtime rules were actually changed, and weren't the normal rules that a lot of these players were used to, right? In the older games, it was you could win the game off of a touchdown if you got the ball first. Or if you kick a field goal, the other team had a chance to kick a field goal, and that was it. Before that, it was first team to score wins. Like field goal didn't matter. Field goal, touchdown didn't matter, right? You wanted the ball because you could go gain a couple yards, kick the field goal, win the game, everybody's done. Then they changed it to where, okay, well, if they kick a field goal, we got to at least give the other team a chance to kick a field goal, or a chance to score or do something. But then they even changed it even further and said, okay, well, if you score a touchdown on the opening drive, the other team still gets the ball back. Like in the past, it was if you scored on the opening drive, game's over. That's it.
Yep.
And there was some controversy in that a lot of the San Francisco players were unaware of the overtime rule changes. I'll say rule changes. Whereas a lot of the Kansas City players were, and that all comes down to coaching preparedness, right? Like, is that what you saw, John, on when you saw them take that coin flip? Because I know we were talking about, we were also talking about that via text. Like, okay, what are the overtime rules? Like,
Yep.
Do we want the ball first? Do we not want the ball first? Like, what's the deal? And when they did that coin flip, what was going on in your head?
Well, to be completely honest, I first bet on the coin flip with some people that I was with. So the first coin flip was heads, and I was already down $5. So then after we had a second coin flip, I bet on tails again. So at least I got my money back. That's just a side note for everybody. But But when we got tails and it was real quick decision. It was, oh, receive the ball, and I was trying to remember the rules. And I thought, well, the last time I remember the rules, it was if you score a field goal, the other team has a chance to get the ball back and score. If you score a touchdown, that's it. And so I was actually excited that we decided to choose to get the ball. And then Mike had said, no, what are we doing? What are we doing? This isn't right. This isn't right. And I asked him, hey, what's going on? He said, there's a rule change and both teams are allowed to score. And then I think you jumped in too. So even I didn't know the rules, and shame on me for that, because, if we're going to do this, I should know, all the rules to everything. But then I got in a cold panic, because what I would have liked to have done was to have Kansas City get the ball first and say, defense, you got to save us one more time. And if you can save us one more time, get a stop or at least a field goal, we have a chance to come back and win this thing. And it just, you with Patrick Mahomes out there, you just can't bet against them. And the fact that all we could do was get a field goal, literally watch them march down the field and take the air out of the stadium, take the breath out of the team, and score. That was rough to
Right.
watch. Yeah.
So here's how the rule changes, kind of the logic in what you want to do during the coin toss for overtime with the rule changes. In the old rules, you wanted the ball first. So if you won the coin flip, we want the ball. Like, hands down, we want the ball. We're gonna go score. Right? If we go score, boom, we win the game. Game's done. If we kick a field goal, okay, then we got to get a stop. That's a little different. In the new rules, though, if you got the ball second, you would have more of the advantage. And you would have more of the advantage because instead of, let's say it was 3rd and 16 yards to go, oh, well, I only got 8 yards that time, so now it's 4th and 8. Or let's say I got 15 yards, so it's like 4th and 1. Maybe I'm deep in my territory, but I'm still going for it. I have the ball second. I got no other choice. My back's up against the wall. I got no other choice. If I had the ball first and it's 4th and 1, I'm deep in my territory. If they get that stop right there, then I give them the short field to then score, right? So then I have to punt. Like, it forces me to think about, okay, do I punt? Do I go for the field goal on such a short 4th and 1? Unless you're Dan Campbell, then it's just a no-brainer. You go anyway. Hit me. Sir, you got 21. I don't care. Hit me.
Well, you needed 22 to win in this game.
Yeah.
25, I guess.
Split tens.
Go ahead, Drew.
What I wanted to ask actually is that they still have the clock going too. So, I was actually a little excited because the 49ers use a lot of that clock on that drive. They use a lot of that clock. So I thought, okay, maybe they have a shot because they've ran down that clock and they're going to have to, Kansas City's going to have to rush a little bit. They can't just take their time and go get that touchdown.
Yeah.
But the gut feeling I had as soon as they took that field goal was, well, Kansas City won the Super Bowl, because I know Patrick Mahomes is not going to let this thing. I know he's going to get to the end zone. But that's how I felt. At a minimum, I knew at a minimum, a field goal's happening. There's no way they're not scoring. And even when they had that, I think they had a 4th and 1 where if they just got that one stop, the game was over. And of course, Patrick Mahomes didn't risk anything. He didn't pass it. He just ran it, got that yard, slid to the ground, and then kept going.
The unaccounted.
And I can't explain it, but as well as you guys can. But there's definitely some questionable defensive calls in the end of that overtime there. But
so what most people don't understand is the unaccounted for player in any offense is the quarterback.
Yep.
That's why in college, a lot of times when teams are running the option, like it's rough. Like, now I have to be gap sound in all my gaps, right? Where if you don't have a running quarterback and you know he's just going to stay in the pocket, he can't necessarily scramble. Okay. Side note: one of my favorite all-time Snickers commercials was Vinny Testaverde. For those of you who don't know, he was a quarterback for the Buccaneers, and this dude was slow as molasses. And he come up to the huddle and like blue 42, say hut hut, and then the announcer would say Vinny's dropping back and Vinny's scrambling, and then he would like go in slow motion, and then they would pan to the audience and not going anywhere for a while. Eat a Snickers. By far one of my favorite commercials. But if you have a quarterback that you know you can't scramble, you have somebody extra in coverage or extra in the rush, right? Like you can drop somebody extra back because you know he's not going to go anywhere. He's not going to outrun your D lineman.
Yeah.
So side note, and let me put this stat up. We talked about Mahomes in that overtime. He went 8 for 8 for 42 yards in overtime in that drive. Okay. It's the most passes he's ever thrown without an incompletion on any drive in his entire career. Talk about needing to be clutch at that moment. That was it.
How many yards rushing did he have too? I'm sure. I think he had 2.
Oh,
he
I
had that
think he
one.
He had 9 carries for 66 yards. He averaged 7.3 on the carries. Longest was 22 yards.
Whoa.
Just wild. Just wild.
Yeah. And, you know, I think if you look at it, just because we're talking about him and rushing, it's the one thing that I don't like when we have to play the Chiefs, and it's the same thing when we have to play the Ravens. It's the ability for the quarterback to run and what you don't account for, like Mike said, right? I think after the first quarter, I felt pretty good about how the game was going from a tempo standpoint for the 49ers. And I say that because Patrick Mahomes didn't rush until the second quarter, I think. And so for the defense to just stop him, keep him within the pocket, keep him within the hashtags, not hashtags, I'm sorry, but keep him within the hashes. They did a good job. You know, I think for the first quarter and onto the second, and I think that they kept him, you know, kind of right where they wanted them. And you know, you keep his run lanes small, and he didn't use them. He decided to throw, or he would throw the ball away, or whatever it was. So I think we did a good job there. But that is the danger with both him and Lamar, is at any point in time when they want to flip that switch and turn it on, they have the ability to do so, and they have the ability to then create their own tempo and momentum switches when they can pick up those first downs, and they almost do it with ease. You know, so hats off to him, kudos to him for that, because once he turned that on, I was like, oh man, it's gonna be it's gonna be more difficult. Then Dre Greenlaw goes down with his injury, and I'm like, oh
that
my
was
goodness,
so bad.
that was, and he didn't do anything wrong. You know, a lot of people were trying to figure out, was he goofing around the sidelines? No, he was trying to keep himself warm. He was doing a couple quick jumps, like he was excited to get out there. Took a step forward. That's all it took. You just saw his whole leg, you know, twitch, and that was it. And he was done for the game.
Yeah,
Killer.
while we were texting, man, I was like, oh shoot, he can't put any weight on it. I'm like,
Nope.
I hope he didn't tear his Achilles. That was the first thing that came to my head. And sure enough, Achilles injury. Tough to see, because as soon as he got hurt, that's when Kelsey was able to get more open, right?
Yep.
Got some one-on-one matchups with Burks. Put Burks in the mix for a little, a couple easy catches, but I think that's what got the momentum going for the Chiefs for sure. You guys did an amazing job in that first half of containing Mahomes. Usually he likes to, you know, step up into the pocket, see a lane. Now I'm gonna start going, right. I'm gonna start ad-libbing. You know, I'm gonna start being Mahomes. When he has to scramble and fade to his scramble. So, get even deeper into his drop is when he starts to panic. And in that first half, you guys did a great job of forcing him. Well, now I got to go east, west, and backwards instead of just east and west, or just go, stepping up into the pocket. And the pocket was collapsing, and it was collapsing pretty fast. A couple of records I'm gonna pop up here. Let me get you guys up here. Ooh, zoom shot. Let's go. We talked about McCaffrey carrying McCaffrey carrying the team. He is the first player in NFL history to finish with at least 75 yards in each category. He finished with 80 and 80, right? 80 yards rushing, 80 yards receiving. So that was definitely good. He definitely would have been the MVP had you guys won that for sure. Surprisingly enough, Jake Moody also set a Super Bowl record with multiple 50-yard field goals, which was clutch, man. That's hard to do. Nerves of the Super Bowl, nerves, just being in the big game and be able to hit multiple 50-yard field goals. That was clutch. The Chiefs now have won back-to-back. This is tough for me to talk about being a Raider fan, man. I cannot stand the Chiefs. I'm sorry to all you Taylor Swift fans out there. So they win back-to-back. The last team to win back-to-back Super Bowls were the 03-04 Patriots with Tom Brady. So it's been nearly 20 years that's been done. What else that also was done is Mahomes joins a list of legends with 3 Super Bowl wins. Brady, with at least 3 Super Bowl runs, because Brady has more than that, right? So Brady, Joe Montana, Terry Bradshaw, and Troy Aikman have all won at least three Super Bowl wins. Let me remind you, Mahomes is still 28.
Yeah.
He is
great
still
company to be in.
Super young. Yes. He is also, that's his 15th postseason win. Okay, that's third most ever, behind Brady, who has 35, and Montana, who has 16. So if he wins one more, he's already in number 2, dude. That's wild. That's absolutely wild. Not just that, but Andy Reid also joins Bill Belichick, Chuck Noll, Joe Gibbs, and Bill Walsh. They have all won 3 Super Bowl wins. I know I had texted a crazy stat to you guys earlier about how Andy Reid has been to, I think, 11 or 12 conference championship games in 25 seasons as a head coach. Dude, that's unheard of. He's definitely going to be a Hall of Fame coach.
Oh, for sure.
And then last crazy stat, Steve Spags, man, the defensive coordinator, now has won 4 Super Bowls as a coordinator. That's most of any coordinator in the NFL history. So he's won 3 with Kansas City and 1 with the New York Jets, or Giants, not Jets. Sorry, Jets. I'm gonna apologize for that right now. You guys got a long way to go. You guys got to keep Rodgers healthy first. Keep him protected. Right. Then maybe you can compete in an AFC championship against Mahomes and lose.
I was going to ask, was there a guy on the 49ers that you felt like just didn't show up or just kind of disappeared, didn't have a game?
Go ahead, Mike. You go first.
John has a few, I think, lined up. He's like,
I do.
There were some guys that I thought were having themselves a game that I thought should have got more playing time. Like, I don't understand why. I mean, but this is me being me, right? This is me being me as a coach. If my third receiver is just being a beast right now, right, in Jennings, I'm gonna go more 3 wide personnel. Correct. I mean, okay, so you're gonna double Debo. You're gonna maybe you've got Ayuk. You're not gonna handle all 3 of them though. And Jennings had himself a game, man. I mean, he made some clutch catches, made people miss.
He's the first receiver to ever throw a touchdown and catch a touchdown Actually, he's the number 2 player besides Foles, right?
Yeah.
And he's a receiver to
Yeah.
throw and catch a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
That's
Yeah, no,
Wait.
I definitely agree.
Yeah. No. I think you're right. I'm trying to think. Then did Heinz Ward do it? I think Heinz Ward might have done it. Something like that. I
Well,
could
then
be
he'd
wrong.
be he might be one of 3, but even
Yeah,
still,
yeah.
that's really awesome to see. And I totally agree with you. I would be lost at trying to understand when the top 2 cornerbacks are covering our top 2 receivers, that why you wouldn't keep going to the number 3, and hey, the number 4 receiver wasn't bad either. Chris Conley was he's always open. He reminds me of Jawan Jennings last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he can get
Yeah.
open. He's a big body, and he can carry that ball quickly. So
Dude, he was
I
playing
mean,
with confidence.
we had options out there, and I think that's what throws me for a loop. And I think for as much as George Kittle has done throughout the year, and as much as well as he does blocking, I feel that there should have been some sort of game plan around him, especially in the second half. I know I didn't talk about anything about the second half, but I think that's where the team might have gone sideways. Where at least if you're going to throw, and you should have started again with the run first. But at least if you're going to throw, get your big guy involved, because
Right.
look at how well Travis Kelce did. You already named the stats, but it was nine receptions for 93 yards, right? He almost had a 100-yard game. If Kittle had half of that, we're making up all the yards that we gave up in penalties,
Right.
right? And he's such a big factor throughout the season that the fact that you didn't even really game plan around that, or at least giving him some packages that he could have done something with, because the person that was guarding him, if they're going man to man, is Nick Bolton.
Right.
Kittle's faster, stronger, and I trust him with the ball in terms of catching and making a football move to continue to move upfield. I trust him with that. So I think I was a little lost there, and I kept saying Kittle, nothing, and I just was
Right.
so frustrated.
Right.
Man.
Well, and this is where I think like Spags did a good job of kind of mixing it up, because sometimes he was guarded by Bolton, sometimes he was guarded by the safety, right? Which if Niners would have kept that 3 wide in with Kittle, right? So that would have been your 4 receivers, Debo, Ayuk, Jennings, and Kittle. Then you would have forced that matchup up against the linebacker. And if McCaffrey was doing what he was doing, then maybe you get even the weaker linebacker or the slower linebacker, right, in coverage. I mean, so what? You have Nick Bolton on Kittle, he covers Kittle, and then you have McCaffrey on the slower guy, or vice versa,
Sure. And I think depending on what side of the field you're on too, I'll take the strong safety. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I'll take the strong safety off of Kittle as well. I'll take that all
Right.
day, because pound for pound, the strong safety hits obviously harder than Kittle does, but Kittle can also withstand some hits, and so I'll take that all day, because I feel like that's a good gamble. I think because your rate of return would most likely, if Kittle comes down with the catch, the rate of return is going to be better.
Who did you
So,
think?
That's
Sure.
actually why I asked the question, is because I was sitting there at halftime, and they threw a graphic up, that Kittle was only received 1 target. He was they only even threw the ball at him once the entire first half. And I'm like, I'm like, in a game like this, where it's a defensive game, where it's the Super Bowl, it's tough. Like, your tight end can really make a difference, really bail you out, really help you in your offense, and I just felt like he was underutilized the whole game, that they needed to go to him more. And then Kelce, he's blowing up in the second half, and still I'm not hearing anything from Kittle, not getting any involvement. And so I don't know, like, to me, I'm like, are they just not calling plays for him? Or is he just not getting open? I was
That's
trying
fair.
to figure it out. it could go both ways. It could just be that they're not going to him for some reason, or he's not working hard enough to get open, or or he's spending his time blocking. There's a lot of reasons, but I just felt like that him not being a presence, he didn't seem like he was a presence out there to me. So I think that was a big loss on 49ers side.
I'd be
Yeah,
interested to see on the Niners like play action plays, how many of them were under center versus how many of them were actually in shotgun. Because they do
Yeah,
the
fair.
RPOs in shotgun. The RPOs in shotgun are a lot easier for D linemen to read because the ball's in front of you. I don't gotta guess. I can see you pull the ball out, and I know who I'm gonna go after. Whereas under center, it takes a little more time for it to develop. And now I have to wait to see if you actually, if you handed the ball off. Which I want to say I only saw a limited amount of. They call them naked bootlegs, right? The quarterback turns around, fakes the handoff, and then goes out on the edge without anybody blocking for him. That's what they call a naked bootleg. And usually that's when they dink and dunk. That's where I believe it was Kittle and Juszczyk got that first down.
Juszczyk
Right?
did,
It was that naked bootleg. He was wide open, dunk it to him, and he did an amazing athletic play to stretch it out for that first down. But I'd be interested to see how many of them were under center, because I would say that Kittle would have been in more under center than he would have in a shotgun formation.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think the other thing that is kind of underplayed is how well the Chiefs D line play in general, and
Yeah.
I think Kittle was used as a blocker because we had some blockers that weren't doing well from an assignment standpoint, and I think it's rough, but I think that's how he was utilized, and I just think it's a little upsetting when you're utilizing one of your best players to have to block, which I think there's a necessity there, it makes sense. But we would run with like two receivers and what is it, 21? We'd run on a 21 set, two receivers and a running back, and I'm like, can you throw anybody else out there? Can you go 31 and even have Charlie Warner or even Ross Dwelly? You have options, and I question some of the calls that were made, but neither here nor there, I guess.
So, Drew, if you are the 49ers, what do you adjust for next season?
Oh,
Where do you think you need to shore up?
I mean, they took it to OT, man. I mean, they're doing pretty good already. I'm not. That's a tough one. They probably, always invest in your offensive line. Their defense. I mean, let's be real. They already spent a lot on their defense. I don't know how much more what you're going to do there. I want to see if Brock Purdy, if he's the guy. I guess I know that's kind of crazy to say. He had a really amazing season. He literally was a one stop away from winning the Super Bowl from his defense. I felt bad looking at his face on the sideline as he's just watching the Kansas City Chiefs. He can't do anything about it, man. It's the worst feeling in football, I think, is watching that. But I'm really not sure what they got to do besides make better coaching decisions in big games, man. Like,
John, what do you think? How do you get over that?
I'm going to address it based off of what I've seen in the last game specifically.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you the spotlight. Go ahead.
Yeah. So if we look at the last play right before the field goal, Chris Jones unblocked coming in on Brock Purdy, and if we would have saw the matchup, and I ended up seeing it on ESPN where it was Brandon Ayuk, and he did like a wiggle route run slant on the inside. Willie Snead fell. Brandon Ayuk was tap dancing in the end zone, but because we didn't block Chris Jones for who knows what reason, Brock Purdy only saw his right side, and so he only went to one read, which was Jennings, and threw the ball up, thinking he gave him any shot, and he really didn't. And so that game is different if we just hit Ayuk in the end zone. So what am I saying? I'm saying offensive line needs to be addressed. That's for sure. You got to ask yourself a couple questions. Is Chase Young going to be there next year? My answer, or guess rather, would probably say no. So, you're going to need a defensive lineman, if anything, for depth. But I think you'll need at least a D line. Then you have to ask yourself, is Brandon Ayuk going to stay? Are we going to re-sign him? If we don't, probably need another receiver to get depth, because Juwan Jennings did well, and I think he's solidified a role on the team, especially a larger role going into next year. But does Chris Conley stay? I think he's on a 1-year contract, so I don't know. So I would say offensive line, defensive line, receiver, and I'm naming these positions knowing that we have 11 picks. I would then go linebacker, safety, probably 2 corners, and that gives you, so what's that, about I think 7 picks or so. That gives you 3 or 4 picks to play with if you want to move up or down in the draft. If we're going to keep all 11 picks, I know Shanahan or Lynch, one of the two, will choose a running back, and then go from there. So I do think depth is what hurt. I do think that watching the second half of the game, our defense was gassed. Again, I think they tried to fill in a gap behind Greenlaw, but it didn't work. Mike, it might have been you that shared the stat. Was it once Greenlaw was out, they threw at Burks 9 times and got 9 receptions, and I don't know what the stat was, but it was definitely a sore spot for the team, and needs to be addressed.
Well, I mean, yeah, in at any level, that's what you're doing, right? Like, as a coach, you're looking, okay, who's the guy that's rattled?
Yep.
Oh, he doesn't look ready. All right, guess where we're throwing? We're throwing straight to you, buddy. I'll agree with you on to a certain point, with your personnel, but I think in the most crucial times and in the times of keeping the momentum, I believe all of it was coaching. I think Shanahan just got out coached by Andy Reid. Now, mind you, I'm not calling for Shanahan's head or anything like that. I'm not calling him for, you guys need to get rid of him because he's a great coach. But
1-3.
But if you look at it, right, who's calling those plays and right after half, right? Who's responsible to educate their players on the overtime rules, right? The rule changes. That's all on your head coach, right? Whether it was play calls. Now I will give him credit. He called timeout a couple times, or one time where I think Steve Wilkes was about to go cover 0. Like, don't do that.
No.
What are you doing? Don't do that.
Yeah.
Cover 0,
Even
basically.
9-yard gap.
For those that don't know, cover 0 is you're literally playing man to man with everybody else, all across the board on all your receivers, but you have no help in the back. You have 0 help. That's why they call it cover 0. That means everybody else is blitzing, and you're hoping that every man can stay with their receiver. Now,
And the problem with that specific play, real quick, is because everyone was 9 yards back. So if you threw a screen, they're scoring a touchdown. They're scoring a touchdown.
yeah, there's no way. There's no way. I hated playing cover zero. The only time I would ever play cover zero is if I knew my athletes were faster than yours. There's no way. I mean, like, you go up against Kansas City, you know a couple things. Even with Tyreek leaving, you know they're fast.
Sure.
That's what they do. They draft fast guys. Travis Kelce's good because the sucker's a fast tight end, right? He's no slug. He can run. But if you're going up against speed, don't play cover zero, dude. You're putting your players in a worse position to just get exposed, man. Burnt toast. Like, you don't do that. So I am glad that he called timeout there. Little shocked that they didn't do more spying in the middle of the field. You know, where they had a spy on Mahomes. I mean, the guy can run. Why aren't you spying? If Steve Spagnuolo said, okay, look, I'm going to make Brock Purdy throw it. And he said, I'm not going to let you beat me with your legs. So I'm going to put a spy on Purdy. Purdy's not known to be a scrambling quarterback. Mahomes is. Like, why are you not spying this guy? Why this is not more of a practice is beyond me. Now, I get it. Mahomes might be more athletic than some of the linebackers having to spy him or whatever, for whatever reason, right? So then put somebody else in. Go to a nickel package. Bring in an extra athlete that can run with him. But anyways, I'm just getting on a tangent because I can't stand the Chiefs. Anywho, we wrap this up, boys. Getting fired up over here. Can't do it. We're gonna wrap this one up early. I know Mike's out there. I know he's hurting. He's hurting right now. Make sure you guys send him some love. Hopefully he'll get back safe. For those of you watching, make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube at Jam Pack Podcast. Click on that notification button to view us live. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook at Jam Pack Podcast, and on Twitter at Jam Pack Pod. I'm Michael, along with my guys, John and Andrew. Be safe out there. Right? Be kind to one another. We'll see you guys later. Jam Pack.
Appreciate you guys.
Nice balloons there, man.
I'm just kidding.